Hello my gorgeous ones, welcome to Alicia Budget Beauty. My name is Alicia. Here on my channel, I love affordable fashion and beauty. I do hauls, tutorials, reviews, palettes that I used in a month, all sorts of fun stuff. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe, stick around, be a friend. You guys, today I am doing my August palettes rundown. I used 20 palettes in August. Sometimes they were in combination with each other in one look, but you guys, I cannot rank these today. Like, a lot of these are my babies. This is an unrankable 20 because there were so many good palettes that I used in August. Cannot possibly rank them. But if you are curious of what some of these really great palettes in my collection are, and I will also pop the look so you can see the look I created with it. If you are curious about that, keep on watching. All right, you guys, I do want to point out, I think these videos are going back to back. I'm not sure which one's going first. I am filming this one, August palettes, and I also filmed 26 fall palettes in my collection. I'm not sure which one's going first, but I have same makeup, same shirt. I just threw a blazer on, so my thumbnail would be different, but I'm filming these back to back. So if you think that looks familiar, this is in the same day. And there are gonna be, I think just maybe 2 or 3 in this one that were also in the other one that are fall leaning. So a couple of repeats, but most of them will be different from that. All right, first up, I used this Imakiage palette in August. This is the Color Boss Master palette, yes. So I got this in Ipsy, and you guys may be like, that looks like the most boring palette ever. And it does look incredibly boring, but you know, there is a time and place for palettes like this, just like the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette that will be in this video. I do have a special just dedicated video to that if you want to check that out. I create 3 looks, 2 that are everyday, quick, gotta get out the door and look fabulous, and the other one's more of like a glam, maybe even like a wedding look. So go check that out if you haven't seen it. But that palette, this palette, are reserved for those times when you need to just look put together, beautiful, glamorous, but not too over the top. I think this could be a perfect everyday palette. This is also like an evening out whenever you just want to look understated but gorgeous. It's better than it looks in the pan, and it's better than it feels. It looks beautiful on. Packaging is very like weighted and heavy. It feels luxurious, and this is actually pretty expensive though. I think it might be one of the most expensive ones here, and it's only an 8 pan, but it's really, really good. Now we have on the other end that looks like cheap. These going back to back is kind of hilarious because you have the kitschy cheap pizza palette from Glamlite, the meat lovers. So my friend Sarah, I don't know if she's watching this, I'll tell her to watch it, that I shouted her out. She will barf because she hates like Glamlite's like food packaging. She's just like, ugh, it's so just like not glamorous and so ugly. And honestly, like, I don't love it either. It's not my thing, but I'm more like, hey, if the quality is good, who cares? So this is what it looks like. You do have this awkward pizza slice. This is a much older palette from them. I'm embarrassed to say I've had this in my collection for a really long time and had not used it. And I decided one day to just bust it out and use it. It's really good though. The quality is really, really good. I also think when you look at it, it kind of looks like the colors, I don't know, like that right away you think that they would go. But honestly, in fashion, I love to wear combinations like this. I love like a purple and orange. I love like a burgundy and bright orange together, a brown and bright purple, a brown and bright orange. So I think what kind of like helps sometimes if you're not sure that shadows go together is, does it look cool color blocked in fashion? If the answer is yes, you can color block it on your eyes, and the quality is great in this. Like, the shimmer is outstanding. This one is too. So packaging's ugly, but it works. It works. All right, another much older palette that landed in my collection just recently is the Huda Beauty nude palette. Wait, new nude palette. So my sweet friend Medea gave this to me for my birthday and I was so excited. I have a few other Huda Beauty palettes, but never had this one. I did have a, I don't know if I still have it in my collection or if I decluttered it, but it was a dupe of this off of Amazon, I think, and it actually performed really, really well. But this is a beautiful palette. You do have some glitters in here, which I think nowadays is kind of strange for a Huda Beauty palette, but I mean, there are times and places for some glitters. They're not the most, there we go. Okay. They're actually maybe not that good. But the rest of this palette is great. I did use it a couple of times. I think the mattes in here are just gorgeous. Like these beautiful mauves in here are so pretty. And then these marbled shimmers are also just beautiful. I don't know why they put those glitters in there. They should have just stuck with those shimmers, but so happy to have this in my collection and very grateful to my friend. Then we have the Muse palette from Cosmic Brushes. This is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. You guys, I really think, I did not include this in my fall palettes. I thought about it and then was like, ugh, no, I'm gonna leave it out. But I do think you could use this in the fall. I mean, you can use whatever palette, whatever month that you want, whatever season that you want. But I do think this is more spring to me, like a grungy spring palette. But the quality, you guys, is so phenomenal. I cannot recommend Cosmic Brushes enough. So cheap. Like $25 cheap, and this is like quality where some of these other indie brands that are gouging us would charge 80 bucks for this palette. I'm just saying. All right, then we have the Nomad Cosmetics Okavango Safari palette. This was in the fall palettes, and I have a whole video on this. I've used it multiple times since doing all those looks. I just think this is a perfect like go-to earthy tones palette. And if you like some grungy greens and some coppers, I think this is an excellent palette. I won't spend too much time on it because I talked about it in the fall recommendations, but such a good palette. I just realized, I hope I'm giving myself room. You'll see I've already had pictures of myself over here, but I forgot to scoot just a little bit. All right, then we have another Nomad. I used a lot of Nomad and a lot of Sydney Grace in August. So this is the Paradise Islands palette. I had to pull this out this summer. I used it a lot the summer before, whenever it launched. And I was like, I've got to pull it out this summer. And I used this actually on my birthday party day, my Barbie themed birthday party. I just was like, I was in a big hurry. It was a fiasco of a day before the party happened. I was frazzled and I was like, I just need something pretty and quick, but like looks summery. So I grabbed this. I mean, this says summer, it screams summer. Now summer's ending, but you could actually like pull out the greens and the oranges kind of in here and use those for fall, I say. It was not in my fall palettes because it's not a fall palette, but you could use it in the fall. All right, then is the Ghost Town USA palette. Obviously, I use this. If you saw my recent video, I did 4 looks with this. And this is such a good palette. This is maybe one of the best Nomad palettes. I think it definitely is, maybe top 3. Quality-wise, it's up there, like this one and also Royal Europe, because Royal Europe had that new formula with the multi-chromes, and this is a new formula for the metallics in here that are just excellent. So if you tried Nomad before and you thought some of the shimmers were hard pressed and hard to pick up, these are not. They are beautiful. This is such a fun palette for fall time, and I do think this carries over into winter really well as well. Then also this month, I happened to use the Love and Death palette. So here she is. Now, I used this palette for the reds instead of over here. Now, over here, I was thinking this 9-pan would pair really, really well with Ghost Town USA, I think. It has those cool tones in it that go a little bit deeper. So you could definitely pair the two, but I did specifically need some reds. So I did pull those out for the month of August. Now this was one that was in my fall palettes, the Heather Austin Adept palette. I'm not gonna spend too long on it. I did use this once in August. I really did like my look. I will say about this palette, this is just my opinion, that in my opinion, this is not the best of the Adept palettes. I know some people think it's their top, but I happen to like the Arrow palette a little bit better. I like Minka more. Just, that's like preference of like, I just love like sparkly metallics that are in Minka, but I do like this color story for like more of like the grungy aspect of it. I just didn't love it as much as some of my others, but I like it. I do like it. Then we have my beloved Into the Night palette from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. This in my ranking of the palettes I've used so far this year. This was number 2. If you haven't seen that, you can go watch that video. But I pull this out from time to time because I just love it. Like, I would probably pull it out honestly in the winter as well, because this part over here says kind of like just cold weather to me. Actually, these like cold weather, but then these down here are very like summer, bright, the neons. So I had to pull that out. I love this palette so much. I know not everyone loved that color story, but I personally love it. All right, Radioactive. Now I'll have to remind myself, you know, you'll see the pictures over here. I'm like, what did I pair this with? Oh, I know what I did. I do know what I did. I used this as an example of putting a black base down and then using like a special shade on top. And I think I'm pretty sure I used Curie right here on top of a black base. And it was so simple. If you guys ever want to look like, wow, like that girl's eyes pop and she must know how to do her makeup, but it'll take you 2 seconds. You put a black base down, put a multi-chrome or like a BAM, like a Gem Tones shimmer on top. Phenomenal. I love this special shades palette from Gourmande Girls. Now the Gemini palette from Melt. Love. Honestly, this could be a fall palette as well. I didn't put it in there, but now I'm like, why didn't I put that in there? This could absolutely count as a fall palette. So you're getting a bonus 27 palettes for fall if you watched that 26 palettes. But yeah, this has like grungy greens. It's got your mustards in here, a few neutrals. I love the mattes in this palette so much. Tiny Marvels. Now I used this palette from Sydney Grace in our family photos for my birthday. And I just, you know, it's like, what palette? I wanted to use something that kind of was a little bit sentimental to me, that I knew would photograph well. It wasn't too over the top. And I was like, what better palette to use? The formula in here is incredible. We know this was Mel's palette. And it's beautiful. Like the mattes, they're so easy to use too. Like I didn't want any blending issues in like professional photos. So it's a special palette. If you don't have it, I highly recommend getting that palette. Then we also have Mel singles in here now, plus a few. So these are new to me. These singles I got during the Christmas and July sale. Plus they threw in extra like couple of singles as well whenever you were ordering. But then these are the Mel singles bundle that are Natasha Denona, like her version of it. And they're also just phenomenal quality. We have another Sydney Grace. So we have the Raspberry Kiss. I just used this one this week, and this came from my Christmas and July purchase. This is excellent. If you like berry tones at all, highly recommend this. Highly recommend it. As a matter of fact, I got the Violet Voss palette in Ipsy. I don't know if you guys have seen it, and it looked really pretty. And I haven't always been a fan of Violet Voss's formula, but people were saying that one was actually really good. But I decided to not touch mine, put it in a declutter for like a giveaway, because I knew this was on the way. And I was like, no Violet Voss is going to beat Sydney Grace's formula. And they were so similar in color story. I just waited for this and it was worth the wait. I love it. Last one from Sydney Grace I used in August was the Tropicolor palette. This was in collaboration with the Fancy Face. So she does have a YouTube, by the way, and she's on Instagram, and she's from Jamaica, and this is inspired by that. And I mean, like the shade names, you know, Rum Raisin, Coconut, Sun Rays, Palm Trees, Cocoa Beans. grape nut. I mean, like everything is so indicative of Jamaica. And I got this specifically because so many of my Sydney Grace are more neutral or more like earthy, toned down. I did not have a bunch of really colorful shades from them. So I was like, yes, let me grab this. And I'm so glad that I did. The blues in here are so pretty. This blue Maho right here in the inner corner, you guys, if you get this and you put that in the inner corner in the winter, it's just gonna look like snowflake, like beautiful. Oh, this in the winter will be, I know it's like summery looking, but the blues in here, the like light baby snowy blues will be so pretty. Then on my eyes today, I also talked about this in the fall palettes, is the Killer Paws palette from Ménagerie Cosmetics. You guys, I'm in love with this palette. It's so good. It's so good. I'm so glad that I got it. I got it mainly for the lilas on the front. That's what my son calls lions. He loves lions. I'm like, why don't I have that palette? So I grabbed it. They re-released it. And I actually am like, actually love this color story so much. So phenomenal. It is back in stock if you want to pick it up. Then I use the Moira Cosmetics Endless Moonlight palette, and this is one of my favorite cool tone neutral palettes. It's excellent, excellent price point, under $20, and you get beautiful shimmers in here, mattes that are pigmented. It blends really well. If you're looking for cool tone neutrals with like some silvers, highly recommend this palette. These palettes from Moira are like, I'd say they could get away with charging $40 for them, and they're under $20. Then we have the Magic Mini by Juvias Place. And this is such a fun palette. I need to reach for this more. You have, you know, some really bright pops of color in here, but then you also have a few like grungy shades. I mean, this quad right here looks similar to what I just showed you in the Killer Purr palette. I mean, actually right there, that looks really full as well. So winter, fall, could be spring as well, could be summer. This is an all year round palette whenever I'm looking at it. Quality's great. If you're looking to pick up a Juvia's that could cross all seasons, I would recommend this. And the last one that I used, I already mentioned, was the I Need a Nude palette by Natasha Denona. You guys, this palette kind of blew me away. I was not expecting to love this palette as much as I do. It's really, really good. And it's more versatile, cool, and warm tone than I thought. Like, pictures online were bonkers of this. Some pictures made it look like it was a peachy pink brown palette. Some made it look like it was a really dusty, cool tone palette. And it's actually both cool toned, warm toned, lots of taupes, just lots of beautiful neutrals in here. There's a one bunk shade that I do not like, Travertine, right up here. But other than that, this palette is phenomenal. I love it. So that is it, you guys. That is all the palettes that I used in the month of August. I couldn't rank these. Like, I was trying to, and I'm like, nah. Like, everything is a hit. There are some that are like amazing. Maybe I could have done that, like the amazing, and then the really, really good. But I just talked about them. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And as always, have fun shopping. Budget shopping.